Last week, I made a video reacting to your guys' bold predictions for the 2025-26 NHL season, so now I feel like it's only right that I let you know some of mine. If you missed that video and you'd like to check it out before watching this one, it's the most recent video on the channel, shouldn't be too hard to find. Making this video before every season has kind of became a tradition at this point. I've made one of these bold predictions heading into each of the last 5 seasons. This will be the 6th, and I'm going to say the same thing that I always say at the beginning of these videos. Do not take this too serious. I don't even take myself all that serious. This is just for fun. And with that all being said, let's go ahead and start off the video with my first bold prediction. I am going to say that Celebrini in his sophomore season manages to make the Team Canada roster for the 2026 Winter Olympics. Celebrini is coming off of what was a phenomenal rookie season. I feel like if you're a Sharks fan, you really couldn't have asked for more. Even though he wasn't able to win the Calder Trophy as the NHL's Rookie of the Year, he finished the season tied for second among rookies in points with 63. The only rookie who had more points than Celebrini last season was Lane Hutson, who played in all 82 games, whereas Celebrini only played in 70. It was honestly one of the best seasons we have seen by an 18-year-old rookie in the NHL, maybe ever, as the only 2 active NHL players who had higher points per game in their rookie seasons as an 18-year-old are Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. Now, counting stats aside, I think one of the more impressive things about Celebrini's rookie season is just how good his underlying numbers looked. This guy was very good in pretty much every aspect of the game, while playing nearly 20 minutes a night on a very bad Sharks team. There was no easing him into things in his rookie season. He was thrown right into the fire, and he thrived. It's only been one season, but I think at this point, it's already safe to say Celebrini has all the makings of becoming one of the absolute best players in the entire league. He really doesn't strike me as somebody who is going to struggle with a sophomore slump based on what we saw from him in his rookie season. So if he comes out of the gate hot and overall just has the kind of season that I'm expecting him to, I feel like Celebrini is going to be very hard to leave off of Team Canada's roster for the 2026 Winter Olympics. We've already seen Celebrini show a lot of promise at the international level, as him and Sidney Crosby played fantastic together in the most recent World Championships. And when Sidney Crosby himself was asked about Celebrini's chances on making the Olympic roster for 2026, Crosby said he's an incredible player. His all-around game at his age is pretty impressive. He's earned the right to be in the conversation. Moving on now to my next bold prediction for the 2025-26 NHL season, I am going to say that Connor McDavid signs just a 2-year extension with the Edmonton Oilers before this season begins. There's obviously been a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks about Connor McDavid and his future with the Edmonton Oilers, as he's still without an extension and is heading into the final year of his deal. Some of the things that McDavid has said recently has left Oilers fans in a bit of distress, and based off of those comments that McDavid has made recently, I feel like it's really unlikely that he signs a max term extension in Edmonton. Now, I think it's even more unlikely that McDavid starts the season with the Oilers without an extension in place, because that would just be way too big of a distraction. It is all anybody would ever be talking about, and I feel like it would be pretty difficult for the Edmonton Oilers to just focus on hockey and focus on being the best team they can possibly be when McDavid's future is up in the air like that. So that is why my bold prediction is that Connor McDavid signs a 2-year extension with Edmonton before the season starts, because ultimately this is a guy who wants to win a Stanley Cup. And say what you want about the Edmonton Oilers, their roster definitely has flaws, but right now he is on a team that is in a position to contend for a Stanley Cup. I mean, they've made the Stanley Cup finals in back-to-back seasons. They have a really good core in place, and for the most part, they're bringing back pretty much the same team this season, but it is a core that is starting to get up there in age, as Zach Hyman's 33 now, Nugent Hopkins is 32, Matthias Ekholm is 35, Darnell Nurse is 30, and on one of the worst contracts in the entire league, and there's also no real clear long-term option in net for the Oilers right now. As of now, it looks like they're going to be running it back this season with a 1-2 punch in net of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. Both of those guys are heading into the final year of their deals. So although the Oilers should still be legit Stanley Cup contenders this season, is that going to be the case 2, 3, 4 years from now? I'm not so sure, and I'm sure McDavid's thinking the same thing. So that's why I'm thinking it makes the most sense right now for McDavid to sign a short-term extension with the Oilers to avoid any potential distractions that would be there if he started the season without an extension, and also maintain flexibility and not lock himself into a max term deal on a team that may not be in a position to contend for a cup in a few years. Moving along now to my next bold prediction, I am going to say that the LA Kings not only failed to get out of the first round once again, I'm actually going to say they failed to make the postseason in 2026. 3-4 years ago, it looked like the LA Kings had one of the brightest futures of any team in the entire league, as they already had a really good core of veterans and one of the better prospect pools in the entire NHL. But over the last few years, things have really not panned out for the LA Kings whatsoever, as they have lost in the first round to the Edmonton Oilers for 4 consecutive years. Anze Kopitar is 38 years old now and heading into the final year of his deal. Philip Deneau is 32, Drew Doughty is 35, Darcy Kemper's 35, and their prospect pool is obviously not anything close to what it used to be for various different reasons. A couple of guys didn't really pan out, they traded some guys, and a few guys have obviously graduated to the NHL full-time already. Now, something that the LA Kings do have going in their favor heading into this season is the fact that I think the Pacific Division in general is still a pretty weak division. Obviously, you have a couple of powerhouses at the top in Edmonton and Vegas, but outside of that, I think the rest of the division is kind of up in the air. I don't see teams like Anaheim and San Jose being legit threats to make the playoffs just yet. Same goes for Seattle. I'm not expecting a big season from them. You have teams like Calgary and Vancouver where I feel like it could go either way. If I was a betting man, I would say that there is a pretty good chance that we will see 5 teams from the Central make the playoffs in 2026 and just 3 from the Pacific, just like last season. And I would say there's a pretty damn good chance 2 of those 3 teams that make it in the Pacific are going to be the Golden Knights and the Oilers, and really that third spot I could see it being any one of the Flames, Canucks, or LA Kings. Basically, where I'm at with the LA Kings is, again, this is a team that's lost to the same team in the first round of the playoffs for 4 consecutive years, and I feel like you can confidently say, at least on paper, they got worse this offseason, and they were definitely a better team on paper heading into last season, especially when it comes to the blue line. I mean, losing Gavrikov in free agency was a massive blow. I also didn't love the decision to trade Jordan Spence to Ottawa at all, and then they went out and replaced those 2 guys by signing the likes of Brian Dumoulin and Cody Ceci in free agency, which I think is just a recipe for disaster. My next bold prediction for the 2025-26 NHL season is that Kirill Marchenko of the Columbus Blue Jackets finishes with 90+ points, setting a new Blue Jackets franchise record for the most points in a single season by a skater, surpassing Artemi Panarin, who finished with 87 points back in the 2018-19 season. Kirill Marchenko was one of the biggest breakout stars in the entire league this past season, as he led all Blue Jackets forwards in scoring with 31 goals and 74 points in 79 games. And it's a breakout season that I don't think is just going to end up being a flash in the pan. I think Marchenko is the real deal. It's not like this breakout season came out of nowhere. The signs were there throughout his first few seasons in the NHL that he would be a very good offensive player, as he scored 20+ goals in each of his first 2 seasons. But this season, Marchenko really made a big transition from being a guy who was viewed as really just a goal scorer to being one of the better all-around wingers in the entire NHL. And this guy just turned 25 in July. I feel like he's only scratching the surface. And same goes for some of the Blue Jackets' other talented young forwards like Kent Johnson and Adam Fantilli, who are both also in their own right coming off of breakout seasons. And I could also see each of those guys taking big leaps in the 2025-26 season, which should only mean good things for Kirill Marchenko and his production. Moving on now to my next bold prediction. I will say this one is probably the least bold of all the takes I'm going to give you guys in this video, but I'm going to say that the Tampa Bay Lightning finish first place in the Atlantic Division in 2026. After only finishing as a wildcard team during the 2023-24 season and being bounced in the first round for the 2nd consecutive year, it looked like Tampa Bay's run of dominance may be over, but they made one big and difficult decision in particular after that season that I really think extended their cup window, and that is the decision to not bring back Steven Stamkos and let him walk in free agency, and going out and bringing in Jake Guentzel, who had a very good first season in Tampa Bay. The Lightning finished this past season with 102 points, good for 2nd in the Atlantic Division, and although they were bounced in the first round for the 3rd consecutive year, I still think this is a team that is in a very good position right now and should be viewed as a legit Stanley Cup contender heading into the 2025-26 season. Not really much needs to be said about Kucherov, Point, Hedman, and Vasilevsky at this point. We know how good those guys are, but it's the team that Tampa Bay has built around those guys that I think makes makes them so dangerous heading into this upcoming season. I already mentioned Jake Gensel and how great he was in his first season with the Lightning. Brandon Hagel had the best season of his career and really broke out into one of the best all-around wingers in the entire NHL. I really liked the deadline additions of Gord and Bjorkstrand. They're obviously going to have both of those guys for a full season, which should really bolster their bottom six. And you also have a couple of guys in the forward group that I think are sneaky breakout candidates like Connor Geekie and Gage Gonzalez. So I'm feeling really good about Tampa Bay heading into this upcoming season. I think they're going to have a big year. Obviously, teams like Florida and Toronto are definitely going to have something to say about Tampa finishing first in the Atlantic. But when it comes to a team like the Panthers, I don't even think they really care where they finish in the standings. I think their main goal is just to be fully healthy come playoff time. And as long as they get into the playoffs, they probably feel like they can beat anybody. And in the case of the Maple Leafs, I mean, they lost one of the better wingers in the entire league in Mitch Marner, who left in free agency. And although I think you can make the argument that on paper they're a deeper team now heading into this upcoming season, that may not necessarily translate to more regular season success. And now finally, finishing up the video with my last bold prediction. This is a Red Wings one. I always try and include one Red Wings bold prediction in all of these videos, and if you're a Red Wings fan, you're probably not going to like this one. I'm going to say the Red Wings finish as a bottom 10 team in the entire NHL in the 2025-26 season. All of the optimism that I had when it came to the Red Wings heading into the last few seasons has really faded, and my expectations for them this season are pretty low. Now, that's not to say I have lost faith in the Yzer plan. They still have a really good core in place, and their prospect pool is good. It's very deep. Help is on the way, but I just feel like maybe they're still a little bit further away from being legit playoff contenders than some Red Wings fans would like to admit. This is a roster that, on paper, at least for now, still has a lot of holes. I think they're very top-heavy offensively. Depth scoring was an issue last season, and I don't think bringing in guys like James Van Riemsdyk and Mason Appleton is really going to make all that big of a difference in that regard. They still have a very clear need for a top-6 scoring winger, a need that they did not address this offseason. And I also think the blue line is still going to be pretty bad. I think you can make the argument that, on paper, the Red Wings have the worst blue line in the entire Atlantic Division. For as good as Edvinsson and Seider are, they can't play 60 minutes a night. So barring maybe a couple big mid-season trades or a Vezina caliber season from John Gibson, I really think it's going to be another long season for the Red Wings. And then next offseason, we really start to see a big overhaul when it comes to the roster, when guys like Sherratt, Hall, and Eric Gustafsson all come off the books, and the Red Wings have themselves a ton of cap space to be very aggressive in what is shaping up to be a very good free agency class in 2026. And by then, hopefully guys like Danielson and Axel Sandin Pellikka and Michael Brandt-Nygaard are all ready to have impacts for this team at the NHL level as well. So again, I think the future in Detroit is still bright. I just think it may be a bit longer before we get there than we all thought, a few seasons ago when the Red Wings missed the playoffs by just a hair. So that is going to wrap up today's video, giving you guys my bold predictions for the 2025-26 NHL season. As always, I want to know what you guys are thinking, so if you missed out on submitting your bold predictions for the most recent video before this where I reacted to yours, be sure to let me know your bold predictions down below in the comments of this video. I still want to know what you guys are thinking, and if you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave a like. It's the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does actually help out the videos a ton. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.